Welcome back to XRP On Moon, the channel where we break down what's really happening behind the scenes in the XRP ecosystem, not just the headlines, but the truth most people are too distracted to see. Today's topic is not just another update. It's a wake-up call, because 99% of people watching this right now will not win in what could be XRP's biggest wealth transfer in history. And the reason has nothing to do with luck. It has everything to do with mindset, timing, and understanding the game before it plays out. Right now, we are living through one of the most misunderstood phases in the crypto market. Most retail investors are still chasing hype coins, reacting to short-term price movements, and getting shaken out by volatility. Meanwhile, XRP is quietly positioning itself in a way that very few truly understand. This is not just about price going up or down. This is about infrastructure, global finance, and a shift that could redefine how money moves across borders. And yet, despite all of this, the majority of people will miss it. Why? Because they're focused on the wrong signals. They're waiting for mainstream media validation. They're waiting for prices to skyrocket before they feel safe buying in, and by that time, the biggest gains are already gone. This is the classic cycle: fear, doubt, hesitation, and then regret. We've seen it with Bitcoin, we've seen it with Ethereum, and now history could be repeating itself with XRP. But here's where it gets interesting. XRP is not just another crypto asset. It has been at the center of regulatory discussions, institutional adoption conversations, and cross-border payment innovations for years. While many saw the legal battles as a weakness, others recognized it as a necessary phase, a clearing process that could eventually position XRP as one of the most compliant and institution-ready digital assets in the world. And this is exactly where the concept of a wealth transfer comes in. Wealth transfers don't happen when everyone is paying attention. They happen quietly, during periods of uncertainty, when conviction is low and doubt is high. The people who win are not the ones who react emotionally. They are the ones who understand the long-term vision and position themselves accordingly. Think about it for a moment. If XRP were to suddenly gain massive institutional traction, integrate into global financial systems, and solve real-world liquidity problems, what do you think would happen to its value? Do you really believe the average retail investor, the same one who panic sells during a dip, is going to hold long enough to benefit from that kind of shift? History suggests otherwise. This is why 99% of people won't win. Not because the opportunity isn't there, but because they are not mentally prepared for what it takes to hold through uncertainty, to ignore noise, and to stay focused on fundamentals when the market is trying to shake them out. And here's the hardest truth of all. Most people don't want to hear this. They want quick gains, instant validation, and easy wins. But real wealth is built in silence, in patience, and in moments where it feels uncomfortable to stay in the game. XRP's potential wealth transfer, if it plays out, will reward those who can think differently, act strategically, and most importantly, stay disciplined when everyone else is losing control. So as we move forward in this video, I want you to ask yourself one simple question. Are you part of the 99% who will miss this, or are you positioning yourself to be in the 1% who understands what's really happening? Because what we're about to uncover next might completely change how you see XRP and your role in this potential wealth transfer. Now here's where things start to separate the informed from the emotional investors, because understanding XRP's biggest wealth transfer isn't just about believing in the asset. It's about understanding how the game is actually played behind the scenes. Most people think markets move randomly, driven by hype or tweets, but in reality, major financial shifts are carefully structured, slow-moving, and often invisible until it's too late to fully capitalize on them. What you're witnessing right now with XRP is a classic setup phase, a period where uncertainty is deliberately high, narratives are mixed, and conviction is tested at every level. Prices don't explode during this phase. Instead, they move sideways, they fake out, they create frustration, and that frustration is not accidental. It's psychological pressure designed to force weak hands out of the market. This is where most people fail. They enter XRP with excitement, maybe after hearing about its potential to revolutionize cross-border payments or replace outdated systems like SWIFT. But the moment price stagnates or dips, doubt creeps in. Suddenly, they start questioning everything. What if it never happens? What if I'm too early? What if I should move my money somewhere else? And just like that, they exit, right before the real move begins. This exact behavior is what fuels wealth transfers. Because when retail investors sell out of fear or boredom, who do you think is on the other side buying? It's not random. It's larger players, institutions, funds, and long-term holders who understand the bigger picture. They accumulate during silence, not during hype. They build positions when sentiment is low, not when everyone is celebrating green candles. And XRP, more than most assets, has been deeply tied to this kind of accumulation pattern. For years, it has faced regulatory scrutiny, legal uncertainty, and constant debate in the crypto space. To the average investor, this looked like a red flag. But to those who understand market structure, it looked like a filtration process, removing short-term speculation and preparing the asset for something much bigger. Because here's the key idea most people miss: true institutional adoption doesn't happen in chaos. It requires clarity, compliance, and stability. And everything XRP has gone through has been moving it closer to that position. Now think about the implications of that. If XRP becomes one of the few digital assets with clear regulatory standing and real-world utility at a global level, do you think its price will reflect what we see today? Or are we currently in a phase where the market is simply not pricing in its full potential yet? This is the disconnect, and it's exactly where opportunity lives. But again, opportunity alone is not enough. The majority of people will still miss it, not because they didn't see XRP, but because they didn't understand timing. They didn't realize that wealth transfers reward patience, not reaction. They didn't recognize that boredom in the market is often a signal, not a warning. And let's be honest, holding through this phase is not easy. It requires ignoring constant noise, resisting the urge to chase faster-moving assets, and staying grounded in a long-term vision that hasn't fully played out yet. Most people simply don't have the discipline for that. That's why only a small percentage ever benefit from these kinds of shifts. Because while everyone else is looking for confirmation, the smart money is already positioned. While the majority is waiting for headlines to tell them it's safe, the move is already underway. And by the time it becomes obvious, the asymmetric opportunity, the kind that creates life-changing gains, is already gone. So the real question isn't whether XRP has potential. The real question is whether you understand the phase we are currently in and whether you have the mindset to navigate it without becoming part of the 99% who get left behind. Now that we understand why most people miss out, let's dive into the psychology behind XRP's biggest wealth transfer, because this is where the game is truly won or lost. The majority of investors make decisions based on emotion rather than strategy. They panic during dips, they chase hype during pumps, and they constantly seek validation from social media or mainstream news. But wealth transfer doesn't reward emotion. It rewards discipline, foresight, and a willingness to act when others hesitate. Think about it. Every major market shift in history, whether in stocks, commodities, or cryptocurrencies, has followed a predictable pattern. First, there's skepticism. The asset or opportunity looks uncertain. Second, there's hesitation. People debate, second-guess, and delay action. And finally, those who understand the structure and the timing position themselves quietly, accumulating while everyone else is distracted. XRP's current trajectory fits this pattern perfectly. The uncertainty caused by legal cases, regulatory questions, and market volatility is exactly what is shaking out the weak hands, while savvy holders quietly build significant positions. Here's a critical point that most investors overlook. It's not about buying at the absolute lowest price or selling at the absolute top. That's a myth that traps 99% of participants. True wealth transfer happens over time through compounding positions and leveraging patience. Those who treat XRP as a long-term strategic asset rather than a speculative gamble are the ones who will benefit most when this wealth transfer occurs, and the scale of this opportunity is massive. Ripple's technology and XRP's liquidity infrastructure are already being adopted by institutions, banks, and payment providers globally, yet the mainstream retail market barely comprehends the magnitude. While headlines focus on short-term price movements or sensational stories, the foundations for one of the most significant capital shifts in crypto history are quietly being laid. This isn't hype. This is infrastructure-driven potential. And understanding this is what separates the 1% from the 99%. But to stay in that 1%, you must master another skill, ignoring fear and uncertainty. The market will continue to throw challenges at XRP, dips, corrections, and external news that can feel threatening. Most people interpret this as a signal to exit, but for informed holders, this is a filter. It tests conviction, patience, and strategy. Those who succumb to fear are exactly the ones who miss the transfer, while disciplined holders reap the rewards. It's also essential to recognize the asymmetry of this opportunity. XRP is unique because the potential upside is exponential compared to the risk for those who are strategically positioned. This is not a 50-50 gamble. It's an opportunity where proper timing, understanding, and patience can multiply returns dramatically. Yet the challenge is human nature, the tendency to act impulsively, to follow the crowd, and to let short-term volatility dictate long-term decisions. This is where education and awareness become your superpower. Knowing the market dynamics, understanding XRP's adoption cycle, and recognizing the behavioral patterns of the majority allows you to navigate this phase strategically. You're no longer reacting, you're anticipating. And that anticipation is what positions you to be part of the wealth transfer that others will only hear about after it's too late. By now, it should be clear. This is a defining moment for anyone holding XRP. The foundation has been laid, the skeptics are filtering out, and the stage is set for those who can see beyond the immediate noise. The key takeaway is simple. Opportunity favors preparation, patience, and discipline. The moment you internalize this, you stop chasing fleeting hype and start strategically positioning yourself to capture one of the most significant shifts in crypto wealth distribution. Now that we've dissected the psychology and structure behind XRP's biggest wealth transfer, it's time to focus on strategy. How to position yourself to be part of the 1% who actually benefits, instead of watching from the sidelines. Let me be clear, this isn't financial advice, but understanding strategy, risk management, and timing is critical if you want to maximize your chances during this period. The first principle is patience. XRP is not a short-term play. It's not about chasing pumps or getting excited over a minor breakout. The biggest gains occur over time, quietly, often when the rest of the market is doubting the asset. You need to embrace periods of stagnation and minor corrections as opportunities, not as signals to exit. Every dip is a potential accumulation point for those who understand the long-term picture. Second, position sizing matters. Don't overextend in a single moment of excitement. Instead, think strategically. Allocate resources in a way that allows you to withstand volatility without panic. The biggest mistake most people make is reacting emotionally. They double down during a peak or exit in fear during a dip. Both actions lead to losses or missed opportunity. Discipline and allocation ensures you are still in the game when the wealth transfer truly begins. Third, timing is critical, but it's about understanding cycles rather than predicting exact price movements. Look at XRP's historical patterns, regulatory milestones, and adoption news. Each event isn't just noise, it's part of a broader trajectory. For example, partnerships with financial institutions or announcements regarding RippleNet integrations aren't immediate catalysts for a massive spike. They are confirmations that the infrastructure is solidifying, setting the stage for the eventual wealth transfer. Recognizing these patterns allows you to make informed positioning decisions rather than impulsive trades. Fourth, mindset is everything. This is where 99% of participants fail. It's not the lack of knowledge that costs them. It's fear, doubt, and herd mentality. You have to train yourself to see short-term setbacks as part of the process. Every uncertainty in the market is a test of conviction. Those who panic, sell out of fear, or chase after FOMO gains are the ones who are systematically eliminated from the wealth transfer. Those who stay disciplined, patient, and focused are the ones who benefit disproportionately. Fifth, monitor information wisely. Social media, news sites, and forums are full of noise, speculation, and conflicting opinions. While some information is valuable, the key is filtering out what is irrelevant or emotionally charged. Focus on developments that affect adoption, regulation, and liquidity, the fundamentals that underpin XRP's long-term value. Ignoring sensationalism allows you to act strategically instead of reacting impulsively. Finally, consider diversification within your strategy. Even if XRP is your primary focus, understanding how it interacts with broader markets, other cryptocurrencies, and global financial movements gives you an edge. Wealth transfer is not just about holding an asset, it's about positioning yourself intelligently relative to the rest of the market. Those who understand these dynamics can navigate volatility with confidence and remain part of the 1%, while others exit under pressure. The reality is simple. Being on the right side of XRP's wealth transfer isn't about luck, it's about preparation. It's about understanding human behavior, recognizing market cycles, and having the discipline to act when others hesitate. Most people fail because they do the opposite. They react, they panic, and they let emotion dictate their decisions. As we reach the final part of this series, it's time to connect all the dots and fully grasp the magnitude of XRP's potential wealth transfer, and, importantly, how to approach it responsibly. Up to this point, we've discussed psychology, market structure, and strategic positioning. Now let's visualize the full scope and understand the signs that signal opportunity without falling into the traps that catch 99% of investors. The first thing to understand is scale. XRP isn't just another altcoin. It is a bridge asset designed to facilitate real-world liquidity between currencies globally. Its adoption by financial institutions, cross-border payment providers, and regulatory-ready infrastructure means that any significant increase in usage can have a disproportionate effect on its value. Unlike speculative tokens with no underlying utility, XRP's wealth transfer potential is grounded in tangible adoption. When adoption accelerates, the wealth transfer is not gradual. It can be exponential for those positioned correctly. The second factor is timing. While we cannot predict exact price points, we can monitor key indicators. Partnerships, institutional integrations, and regulatory clarifications are all triggers that subtly shift the landscape. Every positive development strengthens XRP's foundation, creating an environment where patient holders are poised to benefit the most. The key is to remain aware without reacting emotionally. History has shown that those who chase headlines are rarely the ones who profit from structural shifts in the market. Third, risk management is essential. XRP's potential wealth transfer is extraordinary, but no opportunity is risk-free. Price volatility is inevitable, and external factors, macroeconomic shifts, regulatory changes, or market sentiment swings, can temporarily affect its trajectory. This is why strategic allocation, patience, and mental discipline are crucial. By positioning with awareness of both potential gains and risks, you ensure that you remain in the game when the real transfer begins. Next, recognize behavioral cues. Pay attention to market sentiment, but don't be swayed by it. The wealth transfer is happening quietly. It's the quiet accumulation by informed holders during times of doubt that sets the stage for massive shifts. When the majority is fearful or distracted, opportunity is at its peak. This is a pattern repeated in every major market shift in history. Wealth is quietly consolidated before it becomes visible to the masses. Finally, let's address the mindset. The 1% who benefit are not necessarily smarter. They are disciplined, patient, and focused. They understand that wealth transfer rewards long-term vision, not instant gratification. They see dips as opportunities, stagnation as preparation, and uncertainty as a filter for weak hands. Adopting this mindset is your edge, and it is often what differentiates success from regret. Before we conclude, it's critical to state the financial disclaimer. Everything in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. XRP, like all cryptocurrencies, is highly volatile and involves significant risk. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and no content here constitutes financial advice. Always conduct your own research, consider your risk tolerance, and consult a licensed financial professional before making any investment decisions. The strategies and insights shared here are meant to help you think critically and strategically, not to dictate actions. XRP's potential wealth transfer represents one of the most significant opportunities in crypto history, but it is not guaranteed for everyone. Success depends on understanding the structure, managing emotions, maintaining discipline, and positioning strategically. Those who internalize these principles, ignore the noise, and act with patience will be best positioned to benefit when the transfer unfolds. Remember, the difference between the 99% and the 1% is not luck. It's preparation, mindset, and execution. If you approach XRP with awareness, strategy, and patience, you give yourself a real chance to participate in a transformation that could redefine financial opportunity in the crypto space. Stay focused, stay informed, and stay disciplined, because history favors those who act wisely when others hesitate.